Giant worms, pirates and people who live in cemeteries. Let's find out more from Simon Reeve and his team.
We're on a journey across the Philippines. We're travelling from the ancient rice terraces in the northern mountains on to the steamy, crowded capital city Manila, and then on to the exotic southern islands. The Philippines is made up of more than 7,000 islands, packed with dramatic natural beauty. We'll be travelling through a country full of ancient mystery and 21st century instability. We'll encounter simmering conflict, religious fervour and political scandal.
They found no skeletons in my closet. They found beautiful shoes.
I'll be joined on the journey by Shay Rhodes and Katja Adler.
I've been investigating the macabre side of Manila's population explosion.
If you live amongst the dead, I suppose, why not? It's just another normal thing to do, like going to the office.
I've been with one of the Philippines' most exotic cultures as they dive for delicacies.
I'm quite keen to get in the water and see if I can find any.
Welcome to the Philippines. The Philippines is a rugged, tropical country, battered by earthquakes and typhoons, with a huge variety of landscapes. This sprawling archipelago of islands is clustered in the South China Sea on the Pacific rim of Asia. We start our trip in the mountainous north of the country, a spectacular region and home to an ancient indigenous culture. We're bumping along on a mountain track, and we're on our way to see what some people call the eighth wonder of the world. These are the rice terraces of Banaue. More than 2,000 years ago, the indigenous Ifugao people started building stone walls around the mountains using simple handmade tools. It was an engineering project to rival the Great Pyramids of Egypt. But unlike the ancient Egyptians, the Ifugao didn't use slave labour. Working together, they eventually created 12,000 miles of terraces that are still worked by their descendants today. A complex irrigation system creates ideal growing conditions, and the rice that grows here is delicately flavoured and highly prized. You coming in? I met up with Beng Bimoya, a local guide whose family are Ifugao, to find out how this ancient way of life is adapting to the 21st century. Whoa!
Careful!
Whoa!
Yay!
So tell us about what makes this rice so special.
It's actually traditional rice, been planted for centuries. And the Ifugaos believe that it's given to them by Maknongan, the Ifugao god, for them to plant.
It was the gift of the gods.
Yes.
And
the rice of the gods.
What makes this rice special?
Well, because it's organic, you know, no synthetic fertilizers, insecticides, or whatsoever.
I mean, we all eat rice, but where is the rice in this plant? Where does it grow?
Matiko pa iba nan in ana nan seed nan matiko. There.
There you go. There's a bit of rice. Yes. Thank you. It's almost a seed at the root. That is what it's all about.
This entire area has been declared a World Heritage Site, but the rice terraces are now under threat. The farmers whose families have tended the paddy fields for generations are being confronted by a slippery, writhing menace.
So which are your rice terraces here?
Yeah, all of this you could see here up to that area down there. The one with the straight dike.
So what are the main threats to the rice terraces?
Yeah, one of the main threats is the presence of earthworms in the rice terraces.
Here's some you caught earlier. And good God.
This
It's
is
like a
what
small...
they call the giant earthworm.
Imagine finding that in your garden or your allotment.
Yeah, I have seen some. 17 inches long.
Why are they such a problem? What do they do?
It bore holes in the walls, and then later on the whole wall will collapse.
Millions of these monster worms have been driven into the terraces because the forests where they live are being destroyed.
And you can see the bank is collapsing there as well.
Up to a quarter of the rice terraces have now suffered worm damage, and the young ifugao are not exactly flocking to help with repairs.
Your family have been here for generations. If you look to the future, are you optimistic about the future of the rice terraces, or are you concerned?
Yeah, the younger generations do not want to work in the rice terraces.
What do your own children want to do?
They wanted to work outside in the cities and maybe earn more than what is being earned in the rice paddies.
Does it sadden you? Does it make you upset that they don't want to
Yeah,
to work
no,
here?
actually it saddened me because when they were young I've been bringing them here so that they could see the activities here, but at of this moment they do not want already to come and work in the rice terraces.
The ifugao should be doing okay because they can charge a premium rate for their rice, and because the beautiful rice terraces here attract visitors from all around the world. So it's ironic and rather tragic really that perhaps the greatest threat to both the terraces and their way of life is the fact that youngsters here, like youngsters around the world, don't want to stay here working in the fields. They want to head to the cities. They want to head to Manila.
And that's where we're heading to. South to the capital.
On my path to Manila, passengers sitting row to row. Yeah! The flight staff served the curry chicken when I heard the turbine go. Yeah.
There's more than 20 million people living in the greater Manila area. That's nearly a quarter of the population of the entire country. More than 60% live below the poverty line. As capital cities go, this one's grimy and completely packed. Manila just keeps on growing. The population density here is already the highest of any major city anywhere in the world. And new arrivals just keep turning up here from the countryside. The result is that people have to take drastic steps to find a home.
Katia Adler has been to visit one of Manila's most curious communities in a rather chilling location.
On a typical Manila morning, cacophonous and chaotic, I set off in search of a place where some of the thousands of Filipinos who flood into the capital in search of a better life apparently end up. I love graveyards, whether I'm looking for a sense of history or just a place of quiet contemplation. It's different here, though, I've heard. In Manila's Northern Cemetery, I've been told it's as much about the living as the dead. In and amongst the cold stone memorials to some of Manila's wealthier inhabitants,
you start to notice life. Lots of life. Poverty and population pressures mean thousands of people have made their homes amongst the tombs of the North Cemetery.
This street is called Main Street. Okay. And is this where your house is?
Yeah.
Can you show me?
Yes, of course.
Here on Main Street is the mausoleum for the well-off Gonzaga family. Mercy and her mum have looked after it for nearly 40 years.
The Gonzaga family, what do you know about them? Well, who are they?
They're rich. They're into garments and they have a factory.
What do they think of you sleeping? You know, this is your bed, your television, pictures of your family. So what do they think of that?
It was them who asked us to live here. They asked us to stay here because they knew we didn't have a home.
Okay. So that meant, Mercy, that you were born here. And what was that like as a little girl? Little children are scared of ghosts and the dark. Weren't you scared?
Not at all, because I haven't seen anything with my own eyes. And I don't believe anything unless I see it with my own eyes.
Mercy and her mum are well-established graveyard dwellers. But new families arrive here every day. Since people first began to settle here in the 1950s, the population has grown to an estimated 10,000. This is the reality of Manila's social hierarchy. The closest these families will get to the comforts of a middle-class life is tending to the middle-class dead.
So basically, to live in this graveyard, someone in the family's got to earn their keep. Now that could mean looking after one of these mausoleums, or something a little bit earthier.
Each weekend sees up to 100 burials. But the North Cemetery is not just the final resting place for Manila's well-off. The poor are here too.
Look here how the graves are so packed together. It's quite different from those huge mausoleums.
Families of poorer Filipinos bury their relatives in these cubicles, stacked up high, one on top of the other. An initial payment buys you just 5 years here, not exactly an eternal rest. Once the 5 years is up, you have to pay again. If you miss the payment, there's only one result.
How do you feel about doing this work?
I don't feel anything. Nothing. I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. I learnt it from my mother and father.
I suppose this really goes to show in the graveyard, doesn't it? If you live amongst the dead, I suppose, why not? It's just another normal thing to do, like going to the office, I guess.
With its matter-of-fact attitude to death, this cemetery isn't a place for the squeamish. There's little room for sentimentality amidst this kind of poverty. But there's no mistaking the vibrant sense of community here.
Wow, look at that. That is literally living on top of the graves.
Most of the people arrive here from the countryside, pretty much penniless. There's little sanitation and life is hard. But over generations, a kind of village spirit has evolved, with schools, shops, and a social order that's hard to find in the shanty towns scattered across Manila.